Breakfast this week, you guys. We're going. I'm going out with my lady. Apparently, it's a new thing. It's called jogging or yogging. I don't know. It might be a soft J.
I just picture you standing at home by yourself, looking in the
Doing that in the
mirror,
mirror?
repeating this over and
Yeah.
over. And
Well, that's how I got my gig.
that's all right. Well, makes sense then, I guess. Hello, everybody. This is Between the Streams. This is our
I did not
very
know we were going live.
odd intro into our weekly show where we talk about entertainment, television, movies. We've got a ton of things that we're going to get to today. And if you're watching live on YouTube, we want to hear what you want to talk about as well. Get your comments. You can drop those in there. And as we go through, we've got so many different things that we're going to be getting to today. We've got Star Trek news. We've got a bunch of sequels that are in the works. We've got your weekend box office preview.
And we have
my
a
ability
special,
to speak.
a special edition of your weekend box office preview.
Yes.
Because I had an inside look at one of the movies that's breaking, so I can talk about that a little bit and why I think it might be one of the Oscar winners this year.
But we do have some breaking news to start off. I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And we have breaking Marvel news that has just come out over the last couple of days. There's a couple of big things that have come out. You know, Marvel's always has brand new things that they're coming up with. Like they have to be one of the busiest studios ever. Like, that's out there right now. And one of the big things, there's a couple of them that are happening. There's some casting rumors and there's a new series. But before we get to that, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, which we saw his debut in Civil War, looked great. It feels like they finally got Spider-Man to where he's supposed to be. You know, the kid, it's supposed to be fun.
I mean, I enjoyed Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
I liked
think
Tobey's.
It just sort of went off the rails eventually. And that's the problem when you don't have a Disney at the helm.
Right. Yeah.
They just know how to keep stuff like the wheels turning.
Keep it
going.
Keep it
rolling.
Well, and they have a brand new poster that came out of the new Spider-Man, and that's kind of showing where they are going a little bit retro.
Yeah, a little retro, really, as you put it, just very comic book like.
Yeah. Definitely way more like the comics. Looks interesting. Obviously, he's making some. I don't know what he's doing there, but it looks like a comic book
I think
cover.
He's doing like a salute.
Is that what it is? It's a little salute,
yeah.
An upside down salute. Okay,
bit.
we'll leave it at that. So the brand new Spider-Man. So that's the poster.
The new poster,
which does give us kind of the feel of what the movie's going to be.
Yeah.
And there's also some casting news that has come out.
Yeah, just happened today. Well, I think it was late yesterday that Zendaya, who we already knew was in it, but we thought she was playing a different character.
Mm-hmm.
It's rumored now that she's going to be the new Mary Jane.
And I'll be honest, wasn't quite sure who Zendaya was. I'm sure a lot of you watching are very big Zendaya fans. I apologize.
Well, she's in the family. She is Disney born and bred.
And that's definitely kind of a key.
That's like what you call in the biz synergy, Greg.
Synergy.
You call that synergy.
That's thanks.
We made her, and now she's in our movie.
And now she's there, and you're going to bring her on up. So Zendaya going to be the new Mary Jane, which is an interesting turn, you know. But you're right; it does kind of go with the vein of sticking with Disney and Disney promoting their own from within. God, that is like the golden ticket to be one of the Disney kids. It seems
usually,
generally,
you either implode or you become a ginormous star.
It's
one of the other.
It's either a big star or heroin. One or the other.
They didn't. It was make or break for Zac Efron for a while there.
Yeah,
he made it out.
Oh yeah, he made it out. He's doing good now. So Zendaya, that's it. I'm curious what people think about that. What you think about her casting? What you think about the poster? So definitely give us some comments on that. But that's not all we found out.
It isn't.
No, there's the other rumors about Michael Keaton.
Oh, that's old stuff.
That's old stuff.
That's recap.
Well, but let's go ahead and drop it in there.
Let's explain it to the crowd. So here's what we know so far.
It.
Yeah, it was breaking
news to me. Maybe it's not breaking news to everybody else out there.
Well, some of us follow it by the second because we have to. So basically, just to kind of recap how this movie is turning and where it's going. Michael Keaton is going to be playing Vulture, who is the supervillain. Now, for a long time, we thought that was a rumor. Then it was also rumored that he had turned it down. Mm-hmm. And the sources that first report on the story said that basically what happened was they went to Michael Keaton. He said it wasn't enough money. They said, fine, we'll get somebody else, Michael Keaton-y. And then they were like, we can't find anybody else
like
this
Michael
is perfect.
Keaton.
And there's a lot of reasons Michael Keaton's perfect for it. For one thing, he used to be Batman, so it's a weird crossover from
Right.
a DC superhero to a Marvel villain.
Sure.
Then, of course, there's the Birdman tie-in where he played a actual false superhero who looked like a bird. So it's got all these cool tie-ins. Plus, Michael Keaton's just a fantastic actor, and he's red hot right now. So it made so much sense for him. Also, the character he's playing, Adrian Toomes, is an older,
Vulture.
a little bit of an older guy. So that's perfect for him as well. And he's sort of a psychopath. He kills at will.
The Vulture's
all
a
of those
solid
things
villain
make
name.
it feel absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely a solid villain name. So, all right, maybe not breaking news, but exciting news. We'll put it under that category.
And of course, we also know that Mr. Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., is going to make at least a casual appearance in this film. We're not sure how much of a role he's going to play. And we also know that Donald Glover is going to be in it. He is, if you know Community, he's the dude from Community. He's also the rapper. Childish Bambino.
Yeah, and he's been in a lot of movies actually lately, playing
a couple. He did. He was in the Mars
movie. Yeah, I know. I'm forgetting the name too, and I watched that movie.
Martian.
I read the book. Yeah, The Martian. Thank you. He's in that movie about space or whatever.
Yeah.
So Donald Glover, he's in that. So he's gonna have some kind of role. We don't know what it's gonna be yet.
Yeah, and he was also really jazzed about playing Spider-Man. For a while, it was rumored that he might be Spider-Man. He would have been a good role for it, but now I think he's too old.
I think he's too old.
By the time the movie actually came about, this was 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah, maybe
when
back
he was
then.
bucking to play it, but
to
I
be
think,
Spider-Man.
And also we should tell people that don't know. There's a reason Spider-Man's been rebooted so many times, and that's because Sony owns the property, and you have to use the property. There's some sort of regulation about using the property. At least that's
so
what
if
I
they
was
don't
under,
use it,
that's
then,
what I understood.
then they use it or lose it. Kind of mentality. All right.
Exactly. It's the same thing that happened with X-Men. That's why you keep getting and also Fantastic Four, I believe. But this one, Marvel Studios and Sony are pairing up together. They're co-producing the movie. And I think that's why they're calling it Spider-Man Homecoming. Because he's coming back to Marvel Studios.
Back to the Marvel universe.
Exactly.
And joining that. Okay, so there's some Spider-Man news. Let us know if there's anything specific that you want us to talk about with that. More news from Marvel, though, because they never stop producing everything. And so far, you got to say they've been pretty consistent on knocking it out of the park. But this one is definitely going for a different audience. And I think it's kind of in the vein of bringing up Zendaya. I'm a huge fan of Zendaya. All of a sudden now. So it's definitely targeting a different market that they haven't gone for before. Right. It's a series called The Runaways, and it's based off of a comic book series that's been around since 2003. And The Runaways focuses on these teens who find out that their parents are all supervillains and part of this criminal organization.
And so they didn't know that growing up.
They didn't know that. They're all, as it quotes on here, a very diverse group. And then they discovered that their parents are these supervillains, and they, reluctantly team up to take down their parents.
Okay.
And it's being brought to us, and this will say everything right here. The producers, it's who's going to adapt it, are the Gossip Girl creators.
Yeah.
Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage.
And Schwartz also did the OC.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that kind of gives you a clue of what they're going there.
Yeah.
It still could be a really good series. This may not be my number one priority to watch. I might not be the target market for it.
Right. This sounds so CW that it's amazing that it's not CW.
Well, and that's something that's neat. Yeah, it's going exclusively.
I'm glad it's not CW because there's like one guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but he does all the CW series. He did The Flash, Green Arrow, I believe, and or they just call it Arrow, and he's also doing Supergirl, which did move from ABC where it was first aired. Now it's going to be on CW for season 2. And these are popular series. There's nothing wrong with them, but they bring a very teenage vibe to the. I can't even quite describe it. It's like a CW vibe.
Right. Well, they kind of cornered that market on that stuff.
Yeah, totally. And this guy's making a lot of money, so good for him. It's just not for me. I'm wondering if The Runaway is going to feel like this. It feel like the CW series.
I'm kind of gathering, and that's one other thing too. It's going exclusively to Hulu, which is an interesting.
Which is a good get for them.
Time. Yeah, it's a good get for Hulu,
especially knowing that Marvel has a pretty big overall deal with Netflix.
Yeah,
Disney's Marvel does. Disney has an overall deal, and so a lot of Marvel goes to Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But again, it is being adapted by the Gossip Girl creators. So I think that says a lot. The Runaways going to be coming to Hulu. The other news that's come out is about Deadpool, which we know it's going to be getting a sequel because Deadpool was extremely successful.
Yeah.
Changed that whole game as far as rated R movies.
Yeah, but Suicide Squad still didn't play along.
Yeah.
They still went PG-13.
Yeah, that is true. But it's the casting rumor because there were at the end of the Deadpool. I'm not going to give too much of a spoiler, but it teases that Cable is going to come into the universe.
And it's your boy.
Cable, well, the guy who might be playing him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Cable, that character is he's kind of like the I don't know, his companion, his buddy. It's kind of like a buddy kind of thing, where Cable is more of I want to protect people and do the right thing, and Deadpool, just wants to blow everything up. And beat everybody up.
So Cable's like his nagging buddy.
Cable wants to do the right thing, and he seems I was reading up on him, and I'm not 100% familiar with him, but I guess he's the offspring of Cyclops and like some other, depending on how they bring this into the universe, they may
and which storyline that they follow,
right?
Which artery that they trace.
I imagine they'll simplify it, but essentially he's kind of a cyborg gun-toting crazy guy who wants to protect people. Though
that's cool.
So that's
cyborgs are cool.
Cyborgs are cool, and the rumored about who might play him is Kyle Chandler. Which Kyle Chandler, I'm kind of surprised. He seems. I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before. I like Kyle Chandler. He's good in Bloodline. That's actually from one of the premieres right there. Surprising pick to me.
Yeah.
I figured they might go a little bit younger.
A little younger. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
He's got to be pushing 50.
I would think so.
It's a little hard to be jumping around and kicking ass if you're 50.
But if you're just shooting a gun,
yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's what they're looking for. But anyway, that's the news. Kyle Chandler may be cast in Deadpool.
Well, you always like to see that it's somebody with some range.
Yeah,
and he does have that. Who knows? Like if they've got range, they can make it work. I kind of feel like so that could be cool.
So that is the breaking Marvel news that we've got. We've got some other stuff coming up, too, about Star Trek and The Arrival and some Blade Runner news. But I think it's time maybe we should get to the box office preview.
Yeah.
Because you have a very big exclusive.
I do. Well, I had a pretty exciting experience at the Cinetopia theaters here in town, which is an amazing theater, which has Dolby Atmos and all the state-of-the-art stuff. But I went to go see Kubo and the Two Strings there. And now I have to have a full disclosure here.
Yes.
So my girlfriend works for Leica, which is based here in town. Also, I did a walkthrough there, not through my girlfriend. They invited Digital Trends out, and I ended up doing the tour.
Sure.
Scouts honor.
Okay. That's what. Hey, you use whatever route you can.
Yeah, exactly. But in fact, they actually did approach us through Focus, which is the company that puts out Leica's films.
Okay.
So yeah, Focus approached us, and I did a walkthrough, and I got to take some amazing pictures. So for those who don't know, Leica makes stop motion animation films, and they do it different than anybody else. They created a whole new way to do it. They use 3D print prototyping, which basically allows them to change the faces without having to use clay or anything like that. So they have all these reversible or removable faces. So they
3D print a different expression each time?
Exactly. They design it in a computer, and then they 3D print the faces, and they have thousands upon thousands of these faces. So they've been doing this. They started it with Coraline. A lot of people might have seen that movie.
Which was great.
And they also did Paranorman, very underrated movie. Also did The Box Trolls, which was their most recent. But for Kubo, they sort of for Coraline, they changed the game. They totally changed everything with 3D prototype printing. Kubo is almost like they did it all over again. To give you an idea, for the Box Trolls, they had 1.5 million faces total for the expressions of their puppets. Mm-hmm. For Kubo, they had 48 million.
Damn, 48 million 3D printed faces.
Exactly. And in league with a big 3D printing company, they actually created new software that no one else has because Leica helped create it. And they also, in this film, use computer-generated graphics to sort of enhance all of the stop motion. And that almost sounds like cheating, but when you see it, it's, to me, as I was pulled into this film, it's more like what you see today with the best movies, which use real sets. They go to real places. They shoot on location.
Right.
But they use CGI to enhance it. that's kind of how you can think of this kind of hybrid animation. But so it was a really interesting tour that I got to see sort of the bones of it. I got to walk through some of these sets, and these are incredible sets that they build out of all kinds of things.
How big are they?
They are, a pretty grand sized room.
Okay.
And they're about 3.5 feet off the ground, and that's where the puppeteers do their work. But they're made out of tangible, like tactile materials. Like they'll make grass out of pipe cleaners. They
So
do
they
all
can
this
get in there
interesting
and actually
stuff.
grab it and feel it.
And then they move the puppets frame by frame. And if anybody knows how stop motion works, it's frame by frame. So you show it, you take a picture, you move it a little bit, you take another picture.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
How long did it take them to make this movie?
Well, it takes them on average about 3 years.
Wow.
But this one is by far their grandest. And I realize I'm biased, but the critics are backing me up on this, that I think that this could win the Oscar for the animated. Leica has been actually nominated for the Oscar for each of its 3 films. And I think that this film is so breathtaking, it's so beyond what they've done before, and it looks like nothing else you'll see out there, to the point where I think they're going to win the Oscar on this one.
You're right on the reviews. Yeah,
I'm going to call it.
You think it's going to win an Oscar?
I really do. Yeah.
Calling your shot right now.
I mean, I think it could have some trouble going up against Finding Dory. And from what I had heard, some people had a little bit of trouble with the script. To me, the story didn't have any trouble at all. It's a really great Odyssey type adventure where he's just sort of swept into this Odyssey. Basically, it's feudal Japan, and he has to go find magical armor to defeat some godlike beings that come after him. Okay. That's kind of the broader points, but here's the thing. When I got into the theater, and it hasn't been like this for a long time, I was sitting there with my jaw literally dropped for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie.
Wow.
And as the movie wore on, I kind of thought I was going to get used to the animation. I didn't.
No.
I mean, the expressiveness is so much greater than any of the stuff they've done before. I mean, these are plastic puppets.
Well, you know that.
But they're creating these subtle little movements of their lips that you don't even see on, like CGI animated.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's like almost more expressive than you can get out of any kind of animation.
That's fantastic. Well, now you've sold me on it. I mean,
it's a pretty neat movie.
I mean, besides your review too, there are a lot of people. You're right.
It's sitting at 95%. And the first few reviews came in, both of them said staggering for the animation, and there's a lot of that going around.
There's this guy David Fear from the Rolling Stone, film goers who have suffered through a summer of superheroes, supervillains, and sequels / snarky reboots. We now have something that genuinely casts a spell on viewers. And
that's the thing. If you like escapism, if you go to the movies for escapism, this is kind of that at its zenith for me. I really felt like I was transported to a different place.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty glowing review.
Yeah, Kubo. I know, and my girlfriend works there. It's rough.
Yeah, that's really tough.
But I didn't.
What would happen if you had to give a bad review?
Let me just say this: I enjoyed Box Trolls, but it's night and day comparatively to how the animation has progressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. So Kubo and the Two Strings at the box office. Now, just to wrap up before we get to the Star Trek news, there are a couple of other things in the box office this weekend.
Yeah.
Ben-Hur, which I don't even know if we should waste much time talking about Ben-Hur, quite honestly.
Ben-Hur, the bottom line is it sucks.
That's going from 96% on Rotten Tomatoes for Kubo to 29%.
The big question...
Why even remake it? Why?
So that was the question that seems to be on every critic's lips.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Is the public clamoring for a Ben-Hur?
It's odd, and a lot of the stuff that I've read about it seems to say it's just sort of walking through the motions.
Yeah.
Some have said that the chariot scene is great. Some have said it doesn't rival the 59 version. And, that's too bad because they have a lot more tech now.
Yeah.
So,
it just seems like this is a poor man's Gladiator.
Well, and we kind of knew this was coming.
Yeah.
It's a poor man's Gladiator without a Russell Crowe, which was another review. It's like you needed a Russell Crowe for this one.
Right.
And they didn't really have any big names outside of Morgan Freeman. But yeah, I think that nobody asked for this, and so maybe they shouldn't have done it.
I feel like Morgan Freeman will just do any movie right now. Whatever it is.
You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's pushing 80, man.
Well, that's true. That is true. I guess you might as well go for it.
Yeah, Ben-Hur looks to be a little bit of a paint-by-numbers thing. I mean, if you're looking for spectacle and you want live action, that might be, okay, but it's not. It's, again, like 29% as far as the critics go. So.
Well, Ben-Hur is out. War Dogs also is out this weekend, which to me, War Dogs sounds pretty interesting.
I thought that the trailers look hilarious.
Yeah.
Jonah Hill looks fantastic in it, and of course, Miles Teller.
Bradley Cooper's in it.
Yeah, and the idea is these guys, it's based on a true story.
It is.
But and these guys are arms dealers.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on a true story, but it's based on very small blips of a true story, and then
Yeah.
a lot of it is just sort of they made it up along the way.
Essentially, and I read up a little bit on it.
Yeah.
Is that these two guys, who were real life people, they were in their 20s and got a huge arms contract with the U.S. government to
Right.
bring weapons into Iraq. And then from there, it sounds like they kind of made it all up.
Then the rest
And
is
then-
just nonsense.
Yeah, and then there's something that happened in real life, but
Yeah.
they made because of these two guys in real life, it changed how the government does their contracts because these 20-somethings got like a $300 million contract, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it's about. It looks fun to me. It kind of reminds me, and we were talking about this before the show, a little bit of Lord of War.
Yeah.
Or Lords of War. I always forget which one it is.
I think it's Lord of War.
Lord
Yeah.
of War.
With Nicolas Cage,
Yeah,
which was
that's a
great film.
Yeah, really great movie.
And from what we've heard about this one, Jonah Hill gives an amazing performance, and
Yeah.
so that that might make it worth it. But there's been a lot of comments about script trouble, pacing trouble, just kind of doesn't make sense, doesn't flow very well.
Right.
So
Well, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, this looks like a beer movie.
yeah, I don't think this is
for
a
me.
theater movie. And I would say the last one we're going to talk about, for me, isn't a theater movie necessarily
No.
either, although it does look interesting.
It does, and that's Imperium.
Right,
which,
with Daniel Radcliffe.
Listener Drew is in YouTube right now and just commented on that, asking for any thoughts on Imperium.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Imperium. So, yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
I think this looks like a really cool movie. It had great reviews starting out. It's dropped a little bit, but it's supposed to be pretty electrifying performance from Radcliffe. And it's the subject matter is deep.
Yeah,
it's
pretty deep.
Definitely a dark bit of
it's
subject matter.
It's basically a white neo-Nazi style group.
Yes.
Skinhead, Aryan Nation, whatever you want to call it. American History X style.
Exactly.
Where this guy's infiltrating the group, but then, of course, things go wrong because you're dealing with crazy people.
And he's an FBI agent who goes in undercover. I mean,
Which
can
is
you
weird
imagine
seeing
who
Harry Potter
I know,
as
as
a
an
skinhead.
FBI agent.
Yeah.
All of those things. It's hard to shake it,
Harry
but
Potter.
it's good on him for picking interesting
Yeah.
pictures. Ever since he got out of the series, of course, he walked away with I think a couple $100 million.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's cool that he picks just fun and interesting roles that he wants to take on.
Well, yeah, he just played a dead
He played a
body.
corpse.
Yeah, a corpse in one movie.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Imperium out right now. Definitely not. If you're looking for something to
It's not going to
lift your
take you
spirits.
away and give you an
Yeah.
adventure
You're gonna
feeling.
feel great after this movie.
is like the
No.
other end of the spectrum from Kubo. But again, it's getting good
Yeah.
reviews. It's at like 80%.
Yeah.
And the first few reviews were very glowing, so should be cool.
So Imperium out there. So there's your box office review. Kubo, though, overall is the definitely the gold star.
I was
as
excited.
Ryan is
I was
concerned.
excited, man.
So what would happen if you didn't like it? Just because
I know. Well, that's the problem, man.
Tough.
Well, and it's not, and we enjoyed Box Trolls, but we weren't like blown away by it.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, that's cool, So it's fun to now, because Coraline, the first movie that they made, I was way into that way before I knew even who made it. I just thought it was a really cool movie. It's a very Tim Burton feel.
Yeah.
And the stop motion is really, really beautiful in it. So it's nice to have them put out a movie to me that rivals Coraline, if not beats it.
All right.
Yeah.
Kubo it is. Let's go on to some of our next topics here. And again, we want to hear your comments. If you're watching via YouTube, go ahead and hop in there. Let us know what you want to talk about, if you have thoughts on what we're going through. But we do have some more Star Trek news. So this isn't about the movie. This is about the new series that's going to be coming to CBS.
All access.
Yeah, the first couple of episodes I think will be free, and then after that you have to subscribe to CBS All Access,
Which is $7 a month or $6 a month,
Something
and
like that,
and
yeah.
it has commercials.
Yeah, which not
Yeah.
the greatest format. However, if you're going to bank on a franchise to maybe just make people begrudgingly pay it, Star Trek's a good one to go for.
This thing has gotten all kinds of noise. I mean, people
Yeah.
love it.
People love Star
are
Trek.
flocking to this idea, and
Yeah.
and the basic idea is we think it's an anthology series. It's going to be one story all through the 10 episodes, sort of taking on the the format of the day.
Yeah,
Everything has to be a single
season
single
that
narrative,
you can sell and package,
exactly.
and then there you go.
And but we did get some new information, and one of those key pieces of pee Keeses?
Sure. Yeah. I've already stumbled. Good. I'm glad you did now, too.
I peed on some Keeses. They will have a female lead for this one, so that should be fun. They'll have a female lead, and the other thing that we heard is they will have at least one gay character. So,
okay,
some diversity. That's basically what they're talking
good.
about. What I want to know is more about what this story is going to entail.
Well, real quick, if you're watching right now, if you're listening via podcast, you'll have to find this video, but we're showing the new ship, which is the
that's
Discovery.
the other piece that came out.
Yeah, and so that's...
And this has been met with some derision. Some people liked it. Some people thought it looked weird. Some people think it looks too advanced.
Yeah, but okay, those are hardcore Star Trek fans who are just going to find anything to be mad about.
I think it looks interesting. It looks a little CGI to me, but it looks interesting.
It does, but I mean...
And we should also mention that we also found out
it's a
when this thing is going to air. Or sorry, when it's going to be placed in the sort of Star Trek continuum.
Star date.
It is 10 years before the original series.
So,
before the time of the original series.
Yeah, so definitely go
10 years
way
before
back.
Captain Kirk.
So still in the Klingon Wars, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
so
it could be.
Yeah.
Could be some interesting.
I'm excited for it. I do want to watch it. I don't know if they'll get my money to pay for all access just on principle alone. But if it's good enough, if it
pulls you in, they might.
If it pulls me in, it might work.
Yeah.
And I have since the Next Generation, I kind of skipped a lot of the Star Trek other television series, even though I've heard Deep Space Nine is great.
I've heard very not great things about Enterprise, and let's also let people know that Enterprise was set even before that.
Yeah, it was
Enterprise.
way back.
So this is going to be in between Enterprise and the original Star Trek, which I never realized because I never watched Enterprise.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize it was set
tried.
back in the day.
I tried.
Yeah,
it was just not good. The opening song just ruined it.
Was
for
it
me.
Scott Bakula?
Yeah, it was Scott Bakula, which
I like Scott Bakula.
Yeah, he's all right.
Grew up watching Quantum
Leap. It wasn't his
Leap.
fault.
Yeah,
it wasn't his fault. But there we go. So Star Trek Discovery, finding out more information about that, and let's go on to something else here. Another trailer that came out. And
this looks really, really cool.
I am really interested in this.
Yeah.
So it's for The Arrival, which is a movie that's starring Amy Adams, Forrest Whitaker, Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, and it's forever Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Or Bourne's cousin or whatever. So Jeremy Renner.
Let's go with Hawkeye.
We'll go with Hawkeye. All right, I'll give him Hawkeye.
Nice.
I'll give him Hawkeye. So the movie, basically in this trailer, the idea is that these giant spaceship pods land and start landing all over the earth, and people are trying to figure out what's going on with them. They're trying to communicate with them. Nothing's really happening, and they need somebody to try to bridge a language, some way to commonly speak to them.
Right.
And that's what...
The underlying idea of this is that the theory that has always been put forth by science in general is that mathematics is a universal language.
Right.
The idea behind this, as I understand it, is that it is in fact not
it's
a
not
universal
working with
language,
them.
And so they can't communicate with us. So they bring in Amy Adams' character, who's a linguist. What's interesting about this is not just how different it kind of feels already, and how it's sort of the storyline pulls apart from your average alien invasion story.
Where the aliens instantly we start fighting. And
even if we don't, it's even different than the Contact idea. It definitely
Contact
takes its
was
own.
terrible. It was a terrible.
You didn't like Contact?
No.
See, I like Contact.
No, they never show the alien.
Yeah, I know.
You got to show an alien if you're gonna have an alien movie.
Well,
it's like a ghost movie where
South
they don't
Park
show
made
the
fun
ghost.
of that.
Yeah,
pretty well.
They did. Yeah, it's true.
They ended up with an ice cream pooping Santa Claus, or what was it?
I don't know. I don't remember, but
it was something that pooped ice cream.
Well, that's fine. At least it's something. But this, we already get aliens. In the trailer.
You get aliens in the trailer, and also what's making this such a cool story is one that Denis Villeneuve. I'm so bad with names. I'm the worst. Villeneuve, I think, is the Sicario director, and he's done a bunch of cool stuff. He's the director.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that it's based. Stop making fun of me for my names. It's hard.
Oh, neither of us
Reading
can
is
speak
hard.
Oh yeah, speaking is very hard for us today, so it's fine.
But it's based on a story by Ted Chiang, and it's called The Story of Your Life. Now, this guy, read up about him. It's TEDCHIANG. That's how you spell it. Ted Chiang. Ted Chiang.
Chiang?
Yeah, I guess. But there's an I in there.
I think it's just...
But there's an I in there.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let
that
the viewers
really the
decide.
Point? Is that really the point?
I don't know. I'll just let you go.
Uh-huh. No, read about this guy. Seriously, he is sort of like the unsung hero of sci-fi literature. People just sing his praises like crazy online. I guess, the stuff that he's written, which I haven't actually checked out, is just like above and beyond the vast majority of what's out there right now.
Well,
so that's really fun to know that this is a really like awesome sci-fi story that they're pulling from.
Well, and I love, if it's done right, I love movies about aliens or space or anything like that. But this kind of reminds me of, I look at it as kind of like if Signs, the old M. Night Shyamalan movie, if that had been a little bit different, if they hadn't come to attack, because it's the same thing. These ships just start showing up.
Right.
And then they, start bombing everything, and then for some reason, water is what kills them, which is the dumbest thing ever.
It really is the dumbest thing. Can we talk about that? Because our air is full of water.
I know. Well, and they've traveled all across the universe to
a water-based planet.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like if you go to a lava planet.
A little girl with
we're going to invade the lava planet.
Cup of water.
And there's lava in the air.
Drew in the chat says Sicario was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll censor it a little bit, and he said he'll watch whatever that guy does in the future.
I agree.
Yeah. Arrival. Yeah, Arrival. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I will go see this in the theater. I'll say that right now.
It looks very cool.
Yeah. Let's go on to some sequel news. I didn't realize how long we'd been going. We've got a few minutes left here.
Yeah.
So some more news coming up about Blade Runner and the sequel that's going to be coming out, which, if it's done right, could be great.
Blade Runner is an interesting one.
The original is great.
Supposed
the
to
book
come
is
out
great.
October 2017, and we're still getting casting news.
Yeah, and it's Harrison Ford is going to be in it, which
we know Harrison
Ford's
in it, and we know it's set, so that it makes sense for him to be in it.
Right, because he's ancient now.
Exactly.
And Ryan Gosling, I believe, is in it.
And this is also being directed by.
Who is it? I'm sorry. Can you tell me?
I don't want to.
No, can you
Dennis
tell me who?
Villeneuve.
What was that?
Villeneuve.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I've heard of him before. So he's also directing this.
Oh my god!
And
this is just torture.
I'm just gonna put as many crazy names as possible.
Same guy.
Same guy. The other guy.
He's directing it. It's from a story originated by Ridley Scott. There's some big-time writers on board. The original co-writer of Blade Runner is helping with the screenplay. But the latest news that we got is that our friend Jared Leto is going to be in the movie.
Our pal Jared
Leto. Good old
Jared Leto.
The Letster.
So I could see him actually playing an android very
totally
easily. He looks like an
with
android.
With those crazy blue eyes.
It just makes sense that he would be an android. So I can definitely see that. I mean, it's gonna be interesting how they go with this. It could either be great or terrible. I disagree with making a sequel out of it just on principle. I kind of do too.
We need to bring this guy on the show.
I know. Who is this guy? I don't know. So, I mean, I love the original book, and I think that world could be worthy of exploring if they do it right. But if it's just a sequel, to throw out a sequel and get I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of that right now with the success of a lot of the bringing things back, even like Stranger Things, that vein.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, well, okay, those guys like this. Let's get this and this and this.
Well, what would be cool is if they did sort of use a similar cinematography style as the original.
Would be cool.
Because for those who don't know, the original Blade Runner has really beautiful painted sets because they didn't have the CGI to do it back then. So this is hand painted sets set behind the actors when they're showing the crazy dystopian cities. So it would be interesting to see if they could use that or emulate that in some way.
Yeah.
To make it work. To make it fit. Then again, it's 30 years in the future, so they can kind of do whatever they want.
Do whatever they want to with it.
They don't have to make it fit like the Star Wars.
It's not a rush together crappy thing that they just throw out to be like, oh yeah, here's another Blade Runner for you.
Yeah. Well, I have a horrible secret to admit.
Okay, this is awkward.
A horrifying secret.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not that into Blade Runner.
Really? Okay. Have you ever read the book?
I haven't, and I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid.
Okay.
And I really have never admitted this because everyone is so freaking into Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But, dude, I think it's kind of slow.
Yeah.
It's kind of slow paced.
Okay.
It's really not that exciting to me. I realize I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
With fresh eyes to see if I love it.
Send in your thoughts to
what
Ryan.
Do you love it? Is it like your favorite movie?
The book is really
okay. But what about
favorite.
the movie?
The movie's all right. It's been a while since I've seen it. I'll admit it.
Yeah,
it's been a while. I did like it.
It's become this like cult thing where it's like if you don't absolutely admit that Blade Runner is one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever created, then you are an idiot. And that's fine. It's just like for me, it just never really was that exciting.
Yeah.
I was more excited by The Running Man.
Yeah.
Total Recall. I realize it's a seminal film, and I realize its importance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a terrible person. You realize that, right? I mean, I just want to make sure that we understand that.
I know.
That's on the table right there.
We're going to get some angry phone calls.
All right. Ryan is not a fan of Blade Runner.
And it's not that I'm not a fan. It's just that I feel like it's a little slow.
Juanita hates Blade Runner and wants you to hate it too.
You know that you thought it was slow too. And you just don't want to admit it.
Though. The book is so good.
So what's so great about the book?
All right, let's move on.
Explain to me why the book is so great.
The book is fantastic.
What parts?
Where should I go? Page by page? No, I can't recite it like you can with Anchorman.
All right,
we're getting off course here. We got to stay on course.
All right,
stay the couple of things.
Let's stay the course.
Stay the course. We got to get to a couple of things. And this is something. It's a little bit tenuous, but the possibility of a Lebowski spinoff, not necessarily a sequel, but a spinoff, is getting a little bit more real, and it would revolve around the Jesus.
This sounds completely bizarre to me.
Yeah, and this is news, though, that's coming out, and it has to do with a new movie that the Coen brothers are working on, and it would be...
No, the Coen brothers
not the Coen
brothers.
That's
what you wanted to say.
Right, that they're not working on it.
Right.
Here, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, no, it's basically a movie that John Turturro is spearheading called Going Places, which is based on a 1974 French film.
Yeah.
But the tie-in is some people believe that he's going to create some kind of spin-off of the Jesus character who's going to be the character in the film.
Because he's been advocating for a spin-off for years, and he's friends with the Coen brothers to get them on board.
Which,
so
they might allow it to happen. They have already closed the door on a Big Lebowski sequel because that was rumored to have happened for a long time, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. We don't do sequels. Like,
fair enough.
Not going to happen. But
a sequel with the Jesus.
But here's the thing: like, Jesus is a pedo.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you make a movie?
8-year-olds, dude.
Yeah, that's a weird protagonist. I don't think that's ever been done before, has it?
No, I mean, he wouldn't necessarily have to be a protagonist. I mean, he could just be in the movie.
That's true.
As another. I mean, the character is so fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and funny.
Yeah, and funny. And I think they could also explain away some of that. And even if they did a backstory and just said, oh, it was a misunderstanding.
Okay.
And then boom, okay.
Because he was exposing himself to 8-year-olds?
Well, yeah, but they could explain it away as something.
Maybe he was just coming out of the shower.
I'm not saying, right. If it's that, sure, that's terrible. But yeah, maybe there's some way they can explain it away. But,
yeah, well, it's based on
this. But if he's behind it, if Turturro really is behind it, I think that does give it some legs.
Yeah, and the other rumor is that Bobby Cannavale from Boardwalk Empire is going to be in it.
He's great.
They're going to be playing a pair of petty criminals who get involved with a woman, and there's a love triangle or some sort.
Okay.
And then the trio runs into another woman. Susan Sarandon is purportedly playing the fourth woman, or the fourth character.
Okay.
So it's definitely interesting, but I think this one raises more questions than it gives answers as far as that goes.
For sure. All right, so there's that. We're starting to run low on time here. Do we have time to get through these last two things?
Absolutely. You got to give that Vice Principals review.
All right, we'll get to it. All right, I've been wanting to do this for a couple of weeks. So speaking of terrible people, Vice Principals. So Vice Principals is the series on HBO. I don't know if a lot of people have had a chance to check it out. It's I think this is going to be the 5th episode this week, so the 5th week that it's been on.
So it hasn't been on that long.
No, it hasn't.
Feels
been on
like
that
it's
long.
been talked about for a long time.
It was for a while because it's Danny McBride's first series since Eastbound and Down.
Right.
And if you're a fan of Eastbound and Down, you know what kind of shows and how Danny McBride is.
How he rolls.
And this series, it stars him and Walton Goggins, which Walton Goggins is one of those guys, you may not know his name, but as soon as you see his face, he's so unique. You're going to know who he is. And honestly,
he looks like a Goggins, doesn't he?
He looks like a Goggins.
Really
he looks like a Walton.
Goggins.
Yeah, he does. And he is so good in everything that he's in.
Yeah, I really liked him in The Shield. He was one of my favorite parts about that.
He's in Sons of Anarchy as well.
Yeah.
And he's in, he's just in Justified. I believe he's one of the characters in Justified. So,
and even when he plays a bad character, you still like him because he does it well.
And that's the thing about this show. And I'm not going to give too much of a spoiler. It's not really necessary to, because it revolves around these two guys, the principal. And this is in the first episode, and it's in the trailers. Bill Murray's the principal. Bill Murray retires.
Right.
He's just in it
just
for a
minute.
Cameo. He retires. These two guys want to be the vice principal at all costs, and they hate
the new
each
principal.
other.
They are.
They want to be. Danny McBride's the vice principal. Walton Goggins, I believe, is another teacher. But they both want the principal role, and they both think they're going to get it. They hate each other.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Danny McBride's character because he's just an overbearing ass.
And he wears those awesome shirts, the short sleeve shirts with the ties.
Oh, yeah.
That looks just like your vice principal.
Right.
They really do a good
He
job
looks
of
like the
recreating the effect.
Enforcer vice principal.
Which
It's
is
like,
what the
"We'll
vice
follow
principal
the
is,
rules."
which is why the vice principal rarely becomes the principal.
Right, no, because nobody likes the vice
He's the
principal.
asshole.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it while the principal gets it. And whereas Walton Goggins' character, everybody loves him.
Really?
Because he's smooth, and he's
okay.
nice to everybody on their face, and he's charming, and he does all this. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you find out he is the worst person on the show. He's worse than Danny McBride. He's a terrible, terrible person. And really, that's what the show is about. And it's kind of weird to have a show around two
Horrible
people trying to screw over the new principal that comes in. She's this woman from Philadelphia, and they're. And again, this isn't.
And I'm assuming
spoiling
she's like
too
a
much.
very sweet woman.
Not necessarily
Okay.
sweet, but she's good at her job, and
Right.
they want it.
Right.
And so the series revolves around that. I will say this: if you've ever seen Eastbound and Down and you did not like it at all, this is not the show for you.
Right.
It's crass. The language is horrible. They say horrible things. They do horrible things.
Yeah, I mean the
But-
first like footage they showed is of them just destroying one of their living rooms.
Yeah.
And it's like really over the top.
And these are just in the trailers that
Yeah.
you see. If you like that kind of show, if you like a Danny McBride style, this is right up your alley. I highly suggest giving it a watch. I don't know if you're going to like it as much as Eastbound and Down, but if you're missing that kind of a show of just awful people, but yet you still kind of root for them.
Always Sunny is still on too.
Well, yeah, it's always sunny. Yeah, true. This is a show that you should definitely give a shot. And
All right.
I got to say, Walton Goggins for me steals the whole show. He's so good at what he does.
All right.
He's so good in it. And
Giving it the thumbs up though.
I give it the thumbs up. I give it the thumbs up if you can handle that. If you're easily offended, definitely do not watch this. It's one of the most offensive shows you can find out there. If you're easily offended.
I just want to add to this, like somewhat unrelated, but if you haven't seen the bloopers from Eastbound and Down with Will Ferrell,
Yeah.
they are incredible. He plays such a ridiculous character. You have to see the bloopers. They're online. Just go on YouTube and look it up.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And okay, all right, I will definitely
Just
do that.
adding to that.
There are rumors that he may be showing up actually.
Let's
in
hope
this.
so.
Yeah, and
Let's
because him
hope
and Danny McBride are friends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Busy Phillips is in it. There's a ton of people that are in this. So
And speaking of Will Ferrell,
yes, this is our final thing for the day.
our last bit of news, and this one is so odd to me.
Yeah,
I am one of the biggest Sherlock Holmes fans that you'll ever meet.
Really?
I've read every
Okay.
single story that
Wow, really?
about
The
Sherlock Holmes
originals?
that Arthur Conan Doyle ever wrote more than once. Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Serious.
love that stuff. And
Serious
so
business.
when the new series came out, Sherlock, that was put in the future, it's Cumberbatch and all that, I was like, I don't know. And I loved that. This is not going to be like that. This is Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly teaming up for their third movie, which they've been looking for a project forever, and they're calling it Holmes and Watson. And you can guess how
Right.
that's going to play out. It's a comedy. It's going to be by some of the people behind Get Hard and Tropic Thunder
Yeah.
is the director, and it should be really interesting. But
Yeah.
I just
I
don't
mean-
know how this is going to work.
The two of them though together. I mean, Step Brothers is one of the funniest
I
movies
love
I've
Step
ever
Brothers,
seen.
and it's so stupid. It's this. The script is
So
so
dumb.
dumb.
Yeah.
You like if you read the script, you'd be like, this should never be made into
Catalina
a movie.
wine mixer, dude. So yeah, I mean, Step Brothers is so great with the two of them, and Talladega Nights.
Adam Scott.
They're such a good team.
They are.
That even though it's Sherlock Holmes and Watson,
I'm so conflicted. I'm so
I know this
conflicted
bothers
about
you.
it. Well, I'm just conflicted because I love them together. Again,
Yeah.
like I agree, but like
I love Sherlock
Sherlock Holmes,
but oh,
man,
no.
you're gonna ruin it.
Oh no. Well, they're gonna do it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll do it. I don't know. I trust them. I trust Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly that if it's got to be a good script if they're going to get involved. And Ian Cohen, I mean, Get Hard and Tropic Thunder, those are both funny movies.
I mean, even if it's not a good script, they'll ad lib enough of it so it'll be funny.
It'll still be funny. Just the two of them on screen together, just standing there,
It's
makes
gonna
me
be
laugh.
so weird seeing like Will Ferrell try to be Sherlock
Yeah.
Holmes, dude.
Well,
Like,
there we
is
go.
he going to adapt a British accent?
Yeah.
So many questions, Greg. I have
Yes,
so many
questions. All right, well, there we go. That is this week's Between the Streams. So it's our longest episode ever. Big thank you to Rich behind the scenes for sitting here and helping us out with this and putting up all of our new teasers that we have there at the bottom, all the
Yeah.
cards. That is great if you're watching via YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're listening via podcast.
We're getting fancy, you guys.
We are getting fancy. So if you're listening via podcast, definitely find the link at Digital Trends YouTube page, and you can watch it there, and you can see some of the trailers that we're talking about. If you're watching right now, now, subscribe to the podcast. Listen to the audio version too. It's great. And you can tune in there. You can find it on iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere you can find podcasts. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you have some specific show you think needs some coverage or thoughts on what we said or dispute Ryan's pronunciation of things, definitely let us know. Definitely let us know about
Villanova. It's Villanova.
Sure, we'll go with that one. And thanks so much. We'll be back next week with another episode.
Go see Kubo.
Kubo.